Hey guys, today we have Nick from a Better Agency. We're just doing a quick client interview to talk about how Nick went from essentially increased trials by nearly double the trials, and also increased demos by around 50% after some of the work we've done together, right? So before I get ahead of myself, Nick, why don't you talk a little bit more about you and a little bit more about a Better Agency so everyone gets a little understands what it is all about.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Pedro. Better Agency is a B2B niche SaaS product for the insurance industry. We sell a fully automated CRM marketing automation tool for independent insurance agents. And we were able to pair in our new product launch for Better Agency, which was our agency management system and downloads integration. If you're in the insurance space, you would likely know what that is. With kind of doing everything with Pedro at the same time to really kind of make it a more of a website launch and kind of product launch at the same time. I'm a co-founder and CMO of Better Agency, and we've been in existence since October of 2019.
Awesome. That was quite the intro. The niche is quite specific, so some people might not get it.
Mm.
Yeah. So, what are like looking back? What are some of the problems that you had like before working together? What are some of the issues that you faced that made you like reach out?
Yeah, so being a marketing guy and going into the SaaS world, we were so it's one of those stories that the cobbler's shoes has, or the cobbler's son has no shoes. We were so focused on building the product and trying to get that to market, and then when we launched in October of 2019, it was like, oh, we need to get a website too. We knew
Yeah.
that, but it was just one of those things we procrastinated on because we were putting so much emphasis on that. We put a website up as kind of a band-aid. We experimented over the months with some minimal copy changes, but never really kind of satisfied with the website because it was just one of those things that it was it wasn't an afterthought, but it was an afterthought. Knowing that we were doing a new product launch and kind of needing to reposition our company and clarify our messaging, we found it to be the best opportunity at that time to really kind of tackle this kind of head on. And that's really what we were doing before. We would have, kind of up and down months and up and down quarters as far as client acquisition was concerned. And as we were kind of getting into our new product launch, it really became sort of confusing as to what we were, who we were. Are you this type of company, or are you this type of company in relative to our customer base? Our customer
Yep.
base knows these different things, but it was kind of getting lost in the messaging. And so we knew we needed to clarify that. Being so close to the product, sometimes it's hard to
Yeah.
really it's hard to really get a good footing and the right footing that you need with your messaging. So that's why I wanted to bring someone like you in who had no industry. You're not in the insurance industry, but you
Yep.
can look at what we're doing and you can say that makes sense to me, or no, that doesn't make sense to me. And I figure getting that outside perspective and that outside set of eyes, somebody who wasn't nose deep on the product, was going to be a great benefit for us.
Perfect. That sounds really good. So looking back at essentially where you're positioning your tool as before, like because you're also making changes in the products, you're purely like a CRM at the time, at least on for the outside world, right? So
Yeah.
um, w- like how long did it take you, or for example, how much did you delay the decision to make this change because maybe you didn't know exactly how to position this as both a CRM and an agency management system? What did that
Well,
look like?
I think it kind of goes back to, for me, it was always kind of a rock in the shoe. Kind of going back to, we waited, the website felt like a band aid. I always knew we needed to clean that up. We needed to do the right thing. We needed to have the right type of website. And not that the website is the cure all, but it is our messaging to the outside world and to our ideal customers. And so it was something I wanted to do since we launched our company, and just you're so focused on other things as a marketing leader, building your team and doing all the things you need to do to grow your company, that it always kind of felt like the website was getting slotted, and the online presence was always kind of getting slotted underneath other things. And finally, I knew that when we were kind of doing that new product launch, this was the right opportunity to kind of do both at the same time. And if we're going to launch a new product and reposition our company, we need to get this fixed, and we can't put it off any longer.
Perfect. Okay, and now that we tweaked the website, it's launched, we got the results and stuff like that. What are some of the, let's say, what are the 3 or 4 things that we worked on or that you've changed in terms of how you sell the product or you think about the product? That is like part of the thing that helped you get to the result.
Well, first it was clarifying our message, understanding kind of going through some of your frameworks on, you should think about putting this here, and kind of structuring from a wireframe perspective was really beneficial. Um, and then kind of plugging in and kind of answering your questions that you were giving me and saying, okay, what does this mean? And if they do this, and if it does this, then it does what? And what are these other problems that you find within the industry? And really kind of going through those exercises of, you can recite them, and I feel like I can recite a lot of them in my sleep because, again, you're so close to it. But kind of just going through those exercises and really kind of then using that as the, the ammo that you put inside the gun to kind of, to do the work. And that's kind of, I think, what we were able to really solve in working together.
Perfect. And like how smooth was that process in terms of okay, like we started with an exercise, then we get to the website, then we get to like a few other pages.
Mhm.
Like how did that look like in terms of how much time it took from you or how hard it was? Because sometimes like uh,
Well,
SaaS founders get really overwhelmed with that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and it can be overwhelming. I mean, it can be, but anything can be overwhelming if you let it. And so, I, I mean, it was easy because you made it easy. And but like for me, and just speaking for myself, it was no, we got to get it done. And so if you've got to start early or work late, you got to get it done. And so, the transition was quick. I mean, from start to finish, I want to say we got our main site, and main pages done within a couple weeks of like start to finish. And part of that was just me waiting on my website development team to make it.
Yeah.
So I mean, but as far as you saying, Nick, I think you should do this. I mean, I had already resolved in my brain and in my heart that we were going to move fast. And so if Pedro said to do it, well, let's go get it done. I can, after it was built, it was easy to just kind of work within the framework of my web development team. And so, we want to move fast. We like to move fast, and you presented an environment and facilitated a framework that allowed us to move fast.
Awesome. You don't even know how many times I hear that, that we like to move fast and stuff like that. Usually people are just full of crap that say that, but yeah, you really demonstrated because I think you were the fastest guy that redesigned the website in terms of all the clients I've had. I think you're the fastest, probably
Well,
by
we have
like
a
a week.
deadline. We have a deadline. We have a product launch deadline, and so I can't
That
afford.
helps.
Yeah, that really helps, right? That lights a fire under the whole team. So we know we have a date that we want to put this out there, and because it needs to correspond with our product launch, and so it's all hands on deck for our team. So that yes, that made it easier.
Perfect. Okay, so now that we let's say we improve the positioning, we tweak the messaging, we kind of reworked some of the website in a few areas, to few different areas. How would you quantify the results that you've got? Like, what are the specific results that we got since working together?
Yeah, so great question, and they are quantifiable for us because what we were able to see is all of quarter one, we were averaging about 25 to 28 trials for our software per month, 25 to
Yep.
28 a month, and that is not where we wanted to be. Our model is we do a 1 day, or $1 14-day trial that we lead into for conversion, and we were seeing 25, 28 of those. Uh, we were getting approximately kind of equal number, 25 to 30, maybe demo calls, sales calls, where people were wanting to watch a demo and then speak to a salesperson and ask more deeper questions. So in April, we went from 25 trials a month before to 41 trials in April, and our scheduled calls for our account managers went up by 50%. And so We have goals to get that to a baseline of 50, and we believe we believe we're there. We only launched the website in part of April, like the first half week of April. So and we want to get to 80 scheduled calls a month. And we can now see a trajectory to where that is very likely. If marketing can bring in more of the opportunities, which we should be able to convert because we have the engine to make that happen.
Perfect. And that's exactly what was my next question going to be, right? So how does that change your confidence, like business wise, in terms of, okay, I was kind of stuck or at a plateau at 25 more or less trials a
Mm-hmm.
month, and now you're seeing 40. How does that feel in terms of your next business goals or the next plans you have in mind?
It's very reachable. We like to set stretch goals, so we don't just like to have just regular goals that we feel like we can get. For us, the baseline is 50 trials a month. We have a 72% conversion rate from trial to paying customer. Sometimes it's 71, sometimes it's 74, but about 72 is average over the last 12 months. And so for us in our client acquisition, we know if we can get to a baseline of 50, which we believe is very doable,
Yeah.
that we can actually begin to stretch for 60, 75. As we begin to add to our team, we can even do more. So we feel very, very confident that we're doing that. I mean, the website is helping us build pipeline. It's helping our account managers, facilitate conversations. And so we feel really excited, really optimistic that we can go. I remember when you and I had our initial conversations, you said, "What do you want to get to, Nick?" And I said,
Yeah.
"I'd like to get to 50. I think 50 is what we want to get to." And we kind of backdoored and figured out that is. And I feel like if we had another week in April, we'd be there. And
Yeah.
so over the course of 4 weeks, I feel very, very confident that it's a reality, and then we can begin to scale up from there and kind of really hit some of the stretch goals that we really want to reach for.
Perfect. That's exactly what I like to hear. And it seems like we are really close to achieving that goal, which seemed like a bit of a stretch because when we talked, you're essentially saying, Pedro, I want to double the amount of leads, which is never like an easy job to
Yeah.
get done, right? Especially when you have like a deadline and stuff. Okay, that sounds awesome. So in terms of the, let's say, looking back at whenever you booked the initial call or whenever you're considering booking a call, what are some of the things that kind of made you take the leap of saying, hey, I want to work with this guy? Well, like,
Yeah. Well, I first came across you and found you on LinkedIn, and you were doing page breakdowns of companies, and I think our mutual connections, maybe a second tier, first tier mutual connections,
yeah,
were engaging on your posts, and so I was seeing this, and you were breaking down B2B SaaS websites, and so as a B2B SaaS leader, I was like, well, I'm stuck in an airport,
have a look. Yeah.
or I'm in the line at the restaurant. I'm gonna watch this, and then the things that you were saying, I was like, I agree with that, absolutely. I liked the approach that you were taking. I liked the feedback that you were giving, and everything you were saying. I was going, that makes perfect sense to me, from a marketing perspective, and I liked it. And so it was seeing that probably 3 or 4 times for different websites over the course of maybe 1 or 2 months. Maybe it's a little bit longer than that. I said, let me connect with this guy on LinkedIn because this is where knowing already in my head, we've got to fix these things.
Yeah.
And so it was already on the to-do list. So then when I saw that, I was like, well, let's talk to Pedro. I appreciated the process that you brought me through on that. It wasn't just like, hey, let me sell you some services. It wasn't
Yeah. It
anything
doesn't
like
work like
that.
that.
No, it was very consultative. It was asking great questions, giving me things to consider and think about, and in that it was able to build trust. And I'd already had a level of trust because I can see the validation of the things you were saying, and it was resonating with me. And so that's kind of how I found you. And then going through the process, it was kind of just from cold, LinkedIn. So thank you, LinkedIn algorithm, for showing me Pedro's stuff.
Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. That's how it's meant to work, the content game and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that sounds good. Never really realized that people watch my videos in all sorts of random places like airports and restaurants and stuff. So that's good to know. Um,
I think that's exactly when I reached out to you. Is I was in an airport waiting for my flight, and I have my earbuds in. I'm on LinkedIn scrolling, and I saw it, and I'm like, let me shoot this guy a message. And I don't know if it was on LinkedIn or if it was on email first, but it was from that because I know you put your contact information and stuff. So I remember it was in an airport where it finally hooked me, and I said, "Let's see." And I don't remember which page we were breaking down, but it was yeah. Let me find this guy and talk to him.
Awesome, and that's good memory because people just say, "Hey, I just found you on LinkedIn," so that gets more specific. In terms of like, obviously, you've seen videos, you've seen teardowns and stuff like that, but a lot of people can point, they can point problems and not necessarily know how to fix them, right? Like some philosopher said, the easiest thing in life is just give advice. So, like, what made you think, okay, this guy, okay, it sounds like this guy knows his stuff, to then jumping on a call and then actually trusting, okay, this guy might be able to, that big promise of, hey, let's try to double our leads, right? Because that's
Hmm?
it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah. Are you asking how I took the jump?
Yeah, why did you take the leap? How did you get trust in that scenario? Because it's just watching a few videos, like a lot of other people could do the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a risk. You could have just taken the money and ran, but you didn't. And so part of that is just you just gotta trust the process and have faith. And we've all, if you've been in the marketing game for any length of time, you've probably been burned, and you're probably a little hesitant to pull the trigger sometimes because there's a lot of garbage out there. I think for me, it was just seeing the stuff that you were doing, and everything. Like I said, it was 3 or 4 videos, and I liked it, and I already had this pain. Kind of in that levels of awareness. I was already kind of in that awareness stage of like I know I have a problem, but I just don't know how to solve it.
Yeah,
And so I'm looking for a way to solve it, and it was kind of right place, right time. Uh, you know, so you just do it, and you take it a gamble. And luckily for us, we put the money on black, and it won. So we'll keep riding that horse.
perfect. That sounds good. I wouldn't think of it as gambling, but yeah, that's
But it's
definitely
a gamble. Well, it's a gamble, right? I mean,
yeah.
nobody referred me to you. I didn't have any real validation from anybody who said, Nick, let me vouch for Pedro. You need to go use him. It was I saw your stuff and I liked it, and I said, well, let me have a conversation with him. And going through that consultative process, you didn't try to sell me on the first call. You said, let's talk about what you're trying to achieve, and then if I think I can help you, we'll book a second call. Which I'm that's that in and of itself isn't much, but it was you weren't trying to close me hard like on that first call. You were really trying to get to know what we were doing, and so building that layer of trust, I think was really good.
Perfect. Okay, that's what I always like to hear. People always have like different answers in terms of, why they decided to take the leap. So that's always good to know. In terms of like, um, let's say, would you recommend others to work with me, having gone through this process, like,
I,
and you're
I
like
would
60%
I would
done?
recommend anybody who's not a direct competitor of Better Agency to work with you. Absolutely. Um, if you are in any other space, hit up Pedro. No, in all honesty, I mean I'm not afraid of that either. But it's I would definitely recommend anybody who is in the B2B SaaS world, B2B space, or is just trying to get people to give them money, and has a website. I would strongly encourage them to work with Pedro.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that was like part of of our last questions. I think the result is great. The interview is great. Is there like anything else that you might want to add before like we wrap up and everything?
No, again, I would just go back to, if you're like me and you know that this is a problem that you have, you know that your messaging isn't clear, your positioning isn't clear, you're not, you have something to say to customers, but it's not resonating with them. It's not, the dots aren't connecting with your customers. Then I think it's a good idea that you find somebody like Pedro who is likely not going to be, knee deep in your industry, who can give you that outside perspective. I think it's very valuable, and I think if you do that and you trust that process and you implement, you actually do the work,
Yeah, that's key.
um, you will, you can see results.
At some point, I thought you were saying, yeah, if you need someone like Pedro, it's not gonna run away with your money. I thought you were gonna say that joke in the middle.
No, I mean, no, yeah. If you want someone who's not going to burn you and then someone who's not going to scam you, then hire Pedro.
Perfect. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for the interview. Essentially, if you're watching this interview right now, your next step would just be to book a free intro call where we're gonna figure out if I can help you or not, if the timing is right, and then if so, we'll go ahead and book a second call, just like Nick said, where we're gonna come up with a plan on what are the 3 or 4 things that we can do to grow your business, and you get everything in that call, right? So pricing, everything, next steps, all that stuff, and it's up to you to decide. Just like Nick said, is not much of a salesy process, right? So thanks a lot, Nick, for getting the work done, uh, getting it within the deadline, getting all these amazing results for us to talk about, right? So thanks a lot for the interview, and yeah, enjoy your day.
Thanks, Pedro.
Cheers.